Didn't think it'd be a month into kindergarten when I'd have to be dealing with this nonsense. And if you are a parent or a grandparent on either side of our state line, I wanted to make sure I shared this with you. And maybe you've got some experience with this, with your kids in the school district. So every day, I'm not going to say what school district, obviously, and what school, just for privacy purposes. But every day since our oldest started kindergarten about a month ago, she comes home with a folder. And the folder, has some work items that she's done, learning to, spell her name and circle letters and numbers and basic things that kindergartners should be doing at 5 years old, right? Well, yesterday, she came home with this letter in her folder. And the letter basically says they are going to teach kindergartners and first graders about the correct names for private parts. But it's masked under the guise of we want to make sure that our kids are safe and we want to protect them from sexual abuse. So that's how that's how they do this whole thing of like, and I'll read you the letter here in a second, but I just want to cut right to the chase. They do this whole thing to make you feel bad about, well, I don't want my kids learning about private parts at 5 years old. They're kindergartners. Oh, but we're doing it under the umbrella of making sure the kids are safe from sexual abuse. So don't you want your kids to be safe from sexual abuse? Well, of course I do. So then you should be okay with them learning about, as the letter says here, breasts, chest, bottom, vagina, and penis at 5 years old. I always like to do this show for the person in the back seat of the car, especially on a day like today. But hey, if they're sending out these letters and apparently these people at these schools want to start talking to kids about private parts, which is in the letter, those words that I just read to you, then we've got to do it here on KCMO to get this point across. The letter reads, Dear kindergartner and first grade families, on September 23rd, 2024, we are going to welcome a special visitor, Happy Bear.
Bad hombres.
Happy Bear is the main character in an entertaining, interactive 30-minute live play. During the performance, the students will teach Happy Bear about a very important type of safety, personal safety. Happy Bear is part of P.S. It's My Body, which a child abuse program at the Sunflower House, a center that serves Wyandotte and Johnson counties. Sunflower House has performed the Happy Bear play for more than 40 years in area elementary schools and preschools. A trained Sunflower House staff member will present the program, which will discuss recognizing welcomed and unwelcomed touches, the correct name for private parts, and then I'm not going to read all the words again, but you know what they are. Using resistance skills, saying no, move away, and identifying trusted adults to tell about inappropriate touches. The play incorporates humor and audience participation to allow children to teach Happy Bear about personal safety. Statistics tell us that approximately 1 in 10 children will be the victim of sexual abuse before their 18th birthday, and that 1/3 of those victims are age 6 or younger. Research demonstrates that by teaching children about personal safety, they are more likely to tell an adult about an inappropriate touch. Happy Bear will discuss these important messages with your students in a fun, informative way. By talking with our young children about these important safety issues, we will create a safer community for all children. Okay. So really what we're talking about here, and listen, Mark was telling me during the break that his wife interned at Sunflower House. And the stories are horrific. And I don't deny that for a second. But what we're really doing here is talking about potentially 3% of the population based on the data. 1 in 10 children are the victim of sexual abuse before their 18th birthday, and 1/3 of sexual abuse victims are 6 and younger. So 1/3 of 1/10 is 3% of the population. So now we've got to start talking about private parts and the correct names for private parts to 97% of kids who just should have the right to be innocent children at 5 years old, John. That's what we need to do.
Yeah, the traffic report is that the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yep.
There was some what's the best word to say here? Factual information, useful, that parents can use.
Yes.
The part I object to is bringing it to the school.
Yeah.
Take the information to the parents. Hey, if you'd like to know more, our Sunflower House has a program. Bring your kids to our Sunflower House or some other place.
Yep.
Not the school.
Not the school. But this is kind of more about what they perceive their job to be.
Yeah.
Kids are now basically under the government eye, and the parents are just along for the ride.
Mm-hmm.
And, we were texting about this throughout the neighborhood last night. And, Mark, please play this clip from Happy Bear. This is on their YouTube page. Let's just roll about 30 seconds of this. It'll be obvious. I'll tell you when to stop it. Here we go.
Well, I know you guys usually don't talk about private parts at school, but I think Happy Bear needs to know about the private parts because, Happy Bear, do you know the names of your private parts? No. Like I said, we usually don't talk about private parts at school, but if someone needs help or they're talking about safety, it's okay. So do you think you can help me teach him about the names of the private parts today? Yeah? Okay. Let's say we brought this nice bathing suit for Happy Bear for a little boy. Now, when we put this on Happy Bear's body for little boy, it covers up a private part of the body down in front for little boy. By raising your hand, who can teach Happy Bear a name for that private part? Yes. Not sure? I bet one of your friends can help you out.
Penis.
Okay, it's called the penis. Great job teaching. Now turn around, please, Happy Bear.
All right, that's
Here's
enough
the
of
private
Happy Bear. Turn around there, little Happy Bear. By the way, the first kid, it was a boy, I think, and he was like, yeah, I don't know what this thing's called. But yes, we must teach everybody about the private parts. On the text line, Pete, I'm 31 years old, and they did this exact thing with the bear when I was in kindergarten. It was so confusing and weird. I had totally forgotten about it until now. Thanks for the PTSD. I don't remember much else from kindergarten, but this is burned into my brain. Is that what we need to be doing to 5-year-olds? Now, by the way, I'm 36, and someone's asking when I learned about private parts. The first memory I have for any of this is I want to say it was 5th or 6th grade health class. The first time anybody in a school, and I say this as not a 50-year-old, as a 36-year-old, talked about physical anatomy in a school. And that's appropriate. Adolescence is starting to kick in. The hormones are starting to kick in. That feels appropriate. And by the way, I don't sit here as some prude at all. One of my best friends in that health class, I'll never forget it, started talking about melons. And he's still one of my best friends, okay? So what does that say about me? I guess a lot. But either way, it's that feels appropriate to me. But this whole thing about, hey, we're going to teach kids about unwanted sexual touches. And we need to teach boys about girls' body parts and girls about boys' body parts in an effort to make sure they're safe. I would almost respect it a little bit if they said we're going to do the boys in one room and the girls in another. Right? If you did it like that, I might be willing to accept this as being done in good faith. But the notion that we need 5 and 6-year-olds learning about the physical anatomy of the opposite sex, cloaked under the umbrella of, well, we're just looking out for the kids' safety. Please spare me. I can see right through this. And anybody who's got half a brain can see what's going on here. 913-408-7957. That is the studio line and the text line here on KCMO Talk Radio. Now, this is a question on the text line. Pete, if your kid is one of the 3%, you'd be happy if they told you about it early. No, I understand, but here's the thing. And I would say most parents do this. You have conversations with your kids, do you not? I mean, you're their parents, about what's appropriate and what's not with other people. What is a 5-year-old girl going to get out of learning about the male anatomy that is going to help her identify if she is potentially in an unwanted or inappropriate situation? Explain to me how those two things make any sense.